This episode of Twin Speaks contains spoilers.
Hello and welcome to Twin Speaks First Watch, First Listen, what? Of Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, starring Zac Efron, Lily Collins, Kaya Scodelario, John Malkovich, and Haley Joel Osment. Directed by Joe Berlinger and written by Michael Weiss. I'm your co-host Pat. You can find me on Twitter at KidCombo. And this week, while Andrew is gallivanting in the most exciting city in the world,
Winnipeg.
welcome special guest Georgia.
It's me. I'm here. I know Andrew's going to listen to this episode. Actually, he probably won't even listen to this episode because I'm on it. And he'll make some comment to me about how he's a better co-host and whatever. I don't care, okay?
He listened to the other one that you did, and then he critiqued everything as he was listening to it in our group chat.
At least I don't talk about penises 5 times every episode.
Okay, well, you're already at 1.
So. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So we saw the Netflix movie, which I'm fucking the worst title in the world. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. A couple days ago. Mm-hmm. Based on the life of Ted Bundy. Well, not his life, I guess, but like the trial. Yeah. I suppose. Yeah, written or directed by the same guy who did the Ted Bundy tapes.
Yeah, on Netflix.
Which was interesting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll talk about that.
We watched those a couple months ago.
Yeah, because I guess that one was a little while ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into that pretty soon. Do you have any segues or anecdotes that you want to talk about? Anything weird happened to you? I'm not trying to make you talk about something. I was just asking. I was being polite.
We live together and see each other every day. So unfortunately, unlike with Andrew, there's no interesting tidbits or anecdotes that you don't already know about my day-to-day life.
And vice versa.
Pat was telling me a very riveting story this morning about mowing grass. So thankfully, he already got that story out of the way. And he doesn't have to bore anyone else with it. I love you, but...
Okay, let's get into it. Just a little bit of news before we actually start talking about the movie. A whole bunch of trailers came out, so I made you watch those.
Yeah.
Sat you down. Slap your butt down.
What?
Nothing. A24's new feature film, The Farewell, has gotten its first trailer, starring Awkwafina Zima, Diana Lee, Zhao Shuzhen, Lu Hong, and Zhang Yongbo. Directed and written by Lulu Wang, who hasn't really done anything in recent years. Her last feature project came in 2014, and that was titled Posthumous, and actually starred Britt Marling, who is the creator and star of The OA.
Yeah, which we started watching. Which
is really good.
Yeah.
But this trailer looked really great.
So good. Also, I just want to say... my favorite part of any episode of Twin Speaks is the panic that I see wash over your face as you go to pronounce the names of directors, writers, actors, and actresses. So
I thought I actually did that cast list better than the one that I did to start off the episode, which was more challenging.
Yeah, you got to go in with confidence, though.
Yeah.
So.
It
looked great.
It originally was shown at Sundance in January, but its official theater release will come in July 12th.
Cool.
But this looks really good. It was all about a Chinese family and their Western side of the family. It looks like they're in the U.S. or something.
Probably, yeah. And
their grandmother has cancer, and so they have to go back to China and.
They want to go back and
visit her, quote unquote, for the last time.
But she doesn't know she has cancer.
Yeah, which was really interesting. I think it's an interesting take on the culture there, especially Awkwafina being an American actor. Mm-hmm. It sort of is representative of our sort of Western, I guess, idea of Chinese culture too, or lack of, I guess.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I think it's like a generationally in a lot of like Eastern countries too. Well, I don't know. The whole West versus East thing is a whole other debacle, but about how those families, a lot of families live together. There's 3 or 4 generations of people like cohabitating, and I think that's like, whereas in Western societies we tend to, the first turn of phrase that came to mind was get rid of old people, but
I think you can make that argument.
Yeah, but we put them in, convenient places where we get to visit them, and we pay other people to take care of them. So yeah, it was interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing that movie.
I think that it looks really good.
I hope you guys do a podcast about it.
Yes, July 12th.
Nice. Coming up.
Keeping it. Yeah.
It is though.
So yeah, 2 months away.
2 months away.
Yeah, and then the next trailer we watched was the new entry, or the next entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the new Spider-Man movie, Far From Home.
Oh, Spidey. Spidey goes to Europe. Yeah.
What's the Spider-Man Euro trip?
Yeah.
Is what we could call it.
Every teen has the opportunity. Well, not every teen. Let me back that up. There's always, like, when I went to high school, there was like a Euro trip, and it was just a lot of, kissing in front of the Eiffel Tower, and
thankfully, the Eiffel Tower.
Thankfully, there was no Instagram back then. Eiffel Tower. Have you seen that documentary about that girl that's married to the Eiffel Tower?
Right, yeah. That's what I was...
So interesting. Yeah. I think you came home when I was watching that documentary. So maybe this is a love story about Spidey and the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, that's right. There was one time I came home and you were watching that one about the guy that wanted to fuck a car. That was a good one.
Can I just say that was not the first time I'd watched that video. It was like the 5th time I'd watched that video. I'm so entertained and just interested by it that sometimes it'll come up on my recommended and I'm like, 3rd time's around, 4th time's around, why not? Let's give it a go again.
Because then there's like the bit where they're like talking to him and then they leave. The camera crew like leave and then come back and there's like cum on the car.
Oh my god, yeah, he like does the dirty with the car, and it's like the producer, like one of the film crews, like vans or something. Yeah, right. Whew. Anyways, back to Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man, sorry.
Speaking of robot love, I don't know.
Robot love, yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting this is in like the wake of Endgame.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen Endgame, probably don't listen to this.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Because
Iron Man
they even like
dies.
preface they preface like the trailer with like, if you haven't seen Endgame, don't watch this.
Yeah. So
that was interesting. When was the last time you saw that?
Maybe you have to bleep that thing that I just said.
No,
I think they wanted an excuse to like show cute Tom Holland with this cute little British accent, talking about
he doesn't have
Endgame.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and that preface.
Yeah, he doesn't have it in the movie, but they were like, who do we use for this?
Young man Tom Holland. Young heartthrob.
Yeah, it looks good. We got to see a glimpse of Jake Gyllenhaal's character.
Yep. Like a little bit more too.
Mysterio.
Mystico.
Mystico. Is it Mysterio?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because like in the first trailer, he talks to him like one time or something. He's like hardly in it, and then this one he's actually in it quite a bit. Like he's like talking to Spider-Man and stuff, and they're like chatting it up.
I think like it's an odd. I don't think it's an odd choice. Obviously, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I just have a tough time imagining Jake Gyllenhaal in a superhero movie. So that'll be interesting. And with like young, like charismatic, likable Tom Holland, not that Jake Gyllenhaal isn't likable, obviously, but 2 very different men.
Yes, so, very different people.
Yeah. And then you have like Fury and
This looks interesting because I think it almost is like the mark. I guess it's supposed to be like the epilogue of Endgame is what they were kind of calling it. So right before the new phase of Marvel movies, and we get like all those other Marvel movies. Yeah. Because it never ends. It's just going to go on until you die. And then your children are going to watch them.
It's too profitable. They can't end it. They have to figure out some way. Yeah. They're just killing off characters and then just starting new characters. Yeah.
So, but I don't know. This looks pretty interesting. Yeah. Stars the whole same schlock of people from the first one. Did you watch the first one? I can't remember now.
Yes, we went to go see it together.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I don't think we did the pod. I don't think I was on the podcast for that, but I think I just went and watched it and you guys recorded it later. Right.
So this one comes out July 2nd. It's the same writer and director crew as the previous one. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Cool. It's coming up. And then It Chapter 2 got its first trailer after teasing the poster for it. Ugh.
Pat told me I had to watch the trailer to do this podcast, and I flat out refused, and then I sucked it up and watched it. It honestly wasn't that scary, let me just say. But, like, what is the first scene? Like, Pat's, like, why did she take her clothes off? I know they're probably getting at something there, but it was way over my head.
So apparently this is, like, because there's a second book. Mm-hmm. Or it's like part 2 of the first book or something.
Yeah.
I think is what I understood.
No, it's the book. This is the book.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the book the book has a cast of adult characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to anyone who's read it. Like, obviously, we're a little misinformed, but...
Well, I watched this one video because I didn't really know much about it. So I watched this video about all of this because of how it pertains to the book or how it's related to the book.
Yeah.
And they say that scene because in this trailer, so they show like a full like minute scene to start off the trailer, which was an interesting, and then they sort of like choice. Then do like a bunch of clips.
I wonder how that scene will work into the actual movie because, you know, like you've already shown a full scene of a movie basically. Yeah. So are you going to just use that full scene? It'll be interesting to see how they do it.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good. I'm probably not going to go see it, to be honest. Yeah.
The first one I really liked. I thought it was quite good. And then, and this is all the same people that are doing it. So it has James McAvoy, which they show, and he's kind of the only person that talks.
Ooh.
Jessica Chastain, who looks really great. Bill Hader, who looks great. Got the sideburns, sick glasses.
Bill Hader's cool.
Jay Ryan, Isaiah Mustafa, and James Ransone.
Are the I wonder if the younger cast that was in the first movie is going to be featured in this one.
Apparently they are, and apparently all the scenes, all the like flashback scenes that they're in, were all filmed for this movie. Oh. So it's not like B-roll stuff.
Nice.
So they actually like brought the kids in, they filmed their scenes or whatever.
That's good.
And that was it.
Yeah, because that was a great cast of kids.
Yeah, it totally was. So this comes out September 6th, which is quite a ways away, but it was a good trailer. I liked it. It didn't really show too much, you know.
It definitely didn't.
It really showed like the characters and then them reacting to stuff.
Yeah. No, just enough. You obviously know, like it's the plot of any scary movie. Like, oh, you come back to town, you know, is Derry the same town that it was? It is. Shocker, he's back. Like, obviously we know that that's the general plot of the movie, so you don't need to go into those details. Yeah. Like, you can just show more interesting stuff, which I think they definitely did.
And I don't know much about the book, because there is only one book, right? It's just it.
Yeah.
It would be nice if this was it, too, for it, too. For the movies. So they just did, like, the first one, and then they did the second one, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't think this needs to be, like, a long-standing
I don't think
franchise.
So either. And I hope they don't milk it. And I hope that they don't get, maybe if, like, Andy Muschietti, who is, like, directing and involved in it, if he just goes, like, yep, that's it. Yeah. I hope they don't get like someone else, you know?
I honestly hate when they make franchises go on for too long.
Yeah.
It's like any good TV show, they just milk it until it sucks and then you can't bear to think about it.
Like Scrubs.
Grey's Anatomy, my God. One Tree Hill. You know my passion for One Tree Hill.
It's well documented. Man. There's like
should have ended at season 6, I'm sorry.
There's like what's that one season? That's like the last season of Scrubs, and it's like a hospital school.
Okay, you've seen Scrubs. So I've never seen Scrubs.
Yeah, that's such a shit last season. Anyway, and then there's a new another trailer, a new one for Judy, which is a Judy Greer biopic.
Judy Garland, Pat, not Judy Greer.
Sorry, Judy Garland. Sorry, God. I wrote down Judy Greer too.
I know you did. I was like, what?
Yeah, Judy Garland.
Judy Garland.
Yeah.
You clearly need to watch Wizard this movie to remember who she is.
Yeah, right.
Which wasn't just Wizard of Oz, okay? There's so much more than that. Also, did anyone else, I'm wondering, I'm asking this question to any and all listeners out there. Did anyone else have a moment of realization that Liza Minnelli is Judy Garland's daughter? Because I remember learning this when I was like 15 years old and just being totally gobsmacked by that. Of course, they look the same, but like, I'm sorry, when I think of like Liza Minnelli, I do not think of Judy Garland.
What do you think of when you think of Liza Minnelli?
I don't know.
I can't not think of her in Arrested Development.
Yeah, well, that too, but like, I don't know. I remember there was always just these
I
like...
got a case of the dizzies.
like Liza Minnelli jokes in high school, or like references to Liza Minnelli, so I had a very like clear picture of what Liza Minnelli was like.
Yeah, there was a lot of jokes about Liza Minnelli.
There was a lot of
like
mention of Liza Minnelli.
I feel like nobody even knew who she was.
No,
but there was just lots of jokes about her.
And I don't know any of the jokes. I don't know any of the references.
I couldn't tell you any of
them.
But
yeah. But
it was like,
and then I always knew Judy Garland really well, so
yeah.
Not really. I mean, we didn't know each other, but
you guys were pen pals.
Actually, when I went to
in
Radio
utero.
City, when I went to Radio City Music Hall when I was in New York when I was like 14.
Humble brag.
Yeah. It was a drama trip. I mean, I went to New York. And anyways, it was. We watched like 6 Broadway plays in like 4 days.
And you saw Beyonce?
Wild. No, my drama teacher saw Beyonce.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And was photographed in like a paparazzi picture sitting behind him, which was, yeah, Sean Thomas. Brilliant man. Anyways, yeah, I remember being in this dressing room and like Liza Minnelli, or not Liza Minnelli, god damn it. Judy Garland had like taken a photo or had been in this room. I don't know. Anyways, I like her. And I'm excited to see this movie.
Yeah,
I'm probably not going to like seek it out.
Yeah, right.
But if I stumble upon it and it's available for me to watch, then...
It stars Renee Zellweger as Judy Garland.
Which is crazy. She
looks amazing.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently she sings through the entire thing. That's her voice.
Because she sang in Chicago.
Yeah,
Correct me
that's
if I'm
right.
wrong. I don't know if that was actually her singing. I think it was.
I think it was, too.
Yeah.
I think most of them were singing that.
It will be interesting, though, because Judy Garland has such a unique and distinguishable voice. So to have Renee Zellweger do the singing for the movie is like a bit of a bold move, I think, because obviously like their voices, what am I trying to say? Renee Zellweger is not known for her singing abilities. Like she's not obviously she's a pretty decent singer if she's going to do the
Judy
movie.
Garland's a very recognizable singer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So interesting.
Also stars Jessie Buckley, Finn Wittrock, and Rufus Sewell, and Michael Gambon.
I don't know who any of those people are.
Finn Wittrock was also in, he's been in like American Horror Story.
Okay.
I think he was in the big, I was going to say The Big Sick, but it's not. What's the other one? Nah, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Directed by Rupert Gould and written by Tom Edge. The tagline for the film says, set in 1969 when Garland arrives in the British capital for a 5-week run of sellout concerts.
Cool.
Yeah, so that comes out September 27th. So still a little ways away too, but...
Yeah.
It's interesting that they've chosen a very specific time for this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about her career, but obviously that must have been a pretty, like,
I only really know about her, like, the early stuff with her sort of...
the Oz period?
Well, yeah, and then sort of just before that where she got kind of... a lot of bad stuff happened to her.
Yeah.
And, like, Hollywood took advantage of her and treated her very, very nastily, so... Nastily. Yeah. So that'll be interesting if they maybe reflect on that a little bit, or it like it like affects her in some way, or maybe she like thinks back, or there's flashbacks or something. It would be interesting to see if they actually do that.
It's fairly late in her career, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that was pretty much it for. Oh, there was one more trailer. Let's see. Ophelia. So the first poster and trailer for the Hamlet adaptation, Ophelia, has been released, starring Daisy Ridley, Naomi Watts, Clive Owen, and Tom Felton. Directed by Claire McCarthy and written by Semi Chelas. Yeah, this looks pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of didn't like how it looked almost.
Oh, I thought it was like fairly like visually striking.
I thought she looked great. Like her red hair was very like saturated. I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah. I think I'm just making the comparison. I think in the Kenneth Branagh
Yeah, I think
adaptation.
you're right.
It's Gwyneth Paltrow that does it, I think.
That's right.
Memory serves me correctly. So it's like obviously a bit of a comparison there, but a cool concept.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see Daisy Ridley do something else.
Yeah.
Because that other movie that she's supposed to be in with Tom Holland is kind of getting shit on, and they're having to do like reshoots, like almost the entire movie. Oh, really? And that's supposed to come out, I think, this year. But this looks good. Like this is sort of cool to see, like Clive Owen and Naomi Watts and Tom Felton doing like a period piece like this. And like Ophelia's character in Hamlet is a pretty, what am I trying to say? She's a pretty recognizable character. Yes. A lot of people know quite a bit about her, but she's also a very tragic character. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be interesting to have this movie kind of set in her point of view and to highlight her like contribution. Yeah. Which is such an interesting idea. Contribution, yeah, I guess role in this like story. Do you want to hear the synopsis for the movie? Well, you know the synopsis of the movie. Yeah, they have like. I think most people know the synopsis of Hamlet, don't they? Yep, I think so. Just two English majors over here. Honestly, though, I think it'll be weird not having Kenneth Branagh. Branagh? Why do I not know how to pronounce? Branagh? Kenneth Branagh? I think that's it. Honestly, it's like one of the names that you don't say out loud that much. I know. So. It'll be weird not to have him in this movie, though. Yes, that'll be interesting. Because he did such. If you haven't seen his adaptation of Hamlet. Not his. Well, maybe he directed it. I'm not sure. Yeah, brilliant movie. Really good. So, I don't know. Like, I don't really think this movie's necessary. Okay, do you know what I mean? Hold on, one sec. Are you looking up how to pronounce Kenneth Branagh? Kenneth Branagh. Okay. Branagh. It's not Branagh. Kenneth Branagh. Robot voice is wrong. Yeah, I don't know if it's like a necessary movie, but I think it'll be interesting. And also like shed a little light on the female characters. Sure, absolutely. Shakespeare loved a good tragic female character. So this looks cool. I'm actually quite. I think it looks beautiful. Yeah. This comes out June 28th, so actually not that far away. Coming up. Yep, coming up. I keep saying that about every movie, but... Okay, so that was it for trailers. Cool. And then there's just like a few things for news. So the first one is Chris Evans' new project that he's been announced for has been giving a release date. The film is titled Infinite, and it will be released in theaters August 7th, 2020, directed by Antoine... starts laughing out of nervous. The way that it's spelled looks like it says fucka. How is it spelled? F-U. Yeah. Q. Yeah. U-A. Okay, yeah, no. Sorry. He did Training Day and your favorite movie, The Magnificent Seven. Now, if Andrew's listening to this... That movie sucked. Well, I think this was like one of the first times. That wasn't me that said that. That was Georgia. This was one of the first times that, like, I watched a movie with Pat and Andrew's family. And it was Magnificent Seven. And Andrew chose the movie. Andrew chose the movie. And I'm sure Pat will attest to this. I talk a lot during movies. I'm a very opinionated movie watcher. That's why I've been... accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally featured in many podcasts because I just have so many things to say. And, I live in the place where they normally record. And, I think it gave a bit of a rocky start to mine and Andrew's relationship because... I just remember us making jokes about the horses. The horses. And I don't remember what the jokes were, but I just remember talking about the horses for so long. I know, and he was so angry. Anyways... what is this what is this movie Infinite about? It's his based on the book by D. Eric Meinkrantz called The Reincarnation Papers. Have you ever heard of that? No. It's centered on the cognomenia, which is a name for a secret society of people who possess total recall of their past lives. Oh. A troubled young man haunted by memories of two past lives stumbles upon a centuries-old secret society.
That's interesting.
Sounds really cool.
I am having trouble imagining Chris Evans in a movie like this, but...
Did you see Snowpiercer?
Yeah, we watched that.
That's right. We watched that with my family.
No, we didn't.
We watched it by ourselves. Yeah.
It was good. I like that movie.
Yeah, that was really good. Sorry, go ahead.
It'll be interesting to see him in this kind of like more...
dramatic.
I hope he has a personality in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was my one complaint about him as Captain America. I almost said Mr. America.
Mr. America.
He doesn't really he had a little something going on, but I hope for him he gets a little more distinct characters in the future.
Yeah. His personality is almost like a lack of personality in that movie. Like he's supposed to be almost like a representation rather than like a character.
Yeah, when you compare him to like Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr.'s characters, it's
fairly different.
Yeah. Anyways.
So he's actually got a few upcoming projects, one being Knives Out by Rian Johnson and the other being the Red Sea Diving Resort. Those are both coming out in the next couple of years. So it's interesting to see him sort of moving on from everything Marvel to like lining up really cool projects. Mm-hmm. Like Rian Johnson. I'm really excited to see that one. That Knives Out has like an incredible cast too.
Yeah. Well, he's probably spent so much time
in that bubble.
Like where he wasn't really probably available for many other movies because obviously they're doing like a movie a year.
Yep.
Which is crazy when you think about that. So,
and like the Infinity War and Endgame were like filmed back to back.
Yeah.
Which is so insane.
So I imagine there are quite a few people that want to use him.
Yeah, for their projects. Because I think he's a great actor. Yeah. I think he's a really good actor. So
I like him on Twitter as well.
Yes. He's a very politically active person.
He is,
which I quite like.
I think I appreciate that. Yeah.
He's a well-informed man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
At least from our political
yes, that definitely catering to us.
Not in every way, but both ways, yeah.
But speaking of Marvel actors, Chadwick Boseman is slated to play an African samurai in historical thriller Yasuki. So the story of Yasuki, who served under Japanese warlord Oda Nobunaga, in 16th century Japan. Yasuki was a native of Portugal, who was brought to Japan as a slave to the Jesuit missionaries, the first black man to set foot on Japanese soil. Yasuki's arrival aroused the interest of the warlord, who sought out to unite a fractured country under his banner. So it seems like it's like a story about him using like a black person for his benefit in a political career, almost, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not really sure. Like, I'm not really familiar with like the people who are involved with this, since the guy who's writing the script is the co-creator of the Netflix series Narcos. You haven't seen that, have you?
No,
I haven't seen that either. The one on what's his name? Pablo Escobar? Is that it? Maybe, I don't know.
That's his name. I don't know if that's what it's about though.
Oh, I'm not sure either.
Interesting. I
I
can't comment one way or another.
Yeah, it just says it's like about the complex relationship developed between the two men as Yasuki earns the warlord's friendship, respect, and ultimately the honor, swords, and title of samurai. It
sounds like a buddy cop movie. That's not a buddy cop movie at all.
It sounds like a buddy cop movie.
But not like a samurai
and a warlord
movie.
Yeah. I think this sounds really cool. I like the idea of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of neat. Also in the news, Uma Thurman set to star in a sci-fi film titled Tau Ceti 4, directed by John McTiernan, who directed Die Hard and Predator.
Cool.
So the movie takes place on the war-torn fourth planet in the remote Tau Ceti solar system, where three heavily armed strangers show up, size up the various oligarchs and military thugs who terrorize the place, and set about killing every single one of them. CAA and Paradigm jointly represent North American rights. I copy and pasted it, and that was just like the end bit.
I was like, wait, what? I think that'll be cool.
I think it's kind of
like
cool.
Uma.
This seems like very representative of the amount of sci-fi movies coming out right now.
Yeah.
Or in the works. Like, it's a very, like, it seems like all these cool actors are finally doing crazy projects now, you know?
Yeah. I think it'll be cool. Uma Thurman has, like, a cool intensity about
I love
her.
Uma Thurman.
And it'll be interesting to see that on, like, a sci-fi
level,
yeah.
Yeah. But, I don't know if it's, like, common knowledge, but I looked up John McTiernan. Mm-hmm. Just because I was curious about what he's done, if he's done anything recently. And he hasn't done any movies for a long time, since 2003, because he was in prison.
Oh.
He was charged in federal courts with making false statements to an FBI investigator. And then he had apparently lied about hiring a private investigator to illegally wiretap a producer of one of his films.
Oh, wow.
And then he was in a court battle for 10 years until he finally conceded and gave himself up to the court. And he was in jail for 12 months, and then he served 12 months at his house or something.
So he hasn't made a movie since 2003, but he was technically only incarcerated for like 2 years.
Yeah, but then he was like busy dealing with like this court battle. And then he filed for bankruptcy once he got out. So this guy's like been busy fella. Yeah, he's got yeah.
Jeez.
So it's kind of crazy. Like all of a sudden he's now got a movie coming out with Uma Thurman. A sci-fi movie, which is interesting because he has, like, if you sort of look at his filmography, that's not
Predator.
Like most of his movies.
No, Predator's not. I'm thinking of
actually, I guess so. It is kind of sci-fi, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. I guess you can make that argument. I don't know what other...
I don't know why we always imagine sci-fi to be, like...
In space.
In space.
But I always do, anyway.
I know, but that's not a...
Science fiction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be in space.
No, it's not a, like, necessary qualification.
Yeah, that's sci-fi. A good point. Yeah, okay. That's the end of that.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it for news.
Cool.
Should we get to the movie then?
Yeah.
Okay. So the movie Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, starring Zac Efron, Lily Collins, K.S. Goldilero. Fuck, I fucked it up again. John Malkovich and Haley Joel Osment, with Jim Parsons. Mm-hmm. There's a few of those characters.
Just a little Jim Parsons.
Yeah, slippery Jim Parsons. There was like a few, like John Malkovich and Haley Joel Osment and Jim Parsons. I didn't actually know were in this movie.
No.
It was kind of surprising. It was
I went
a
into
nice
it
surprise.
blind. Like I didn't really.
Yeah, I sort of did the same. I only knew that it was about Ted Bundy, and then I think I saw one trailer, and the trailer wasn't very good.
Yeah, it was that trailer where it was like Ted Bundy killing guys, rock music playing in the background.
Exactly.
Where it like made Ted Bundy
look like a rock star.
Yeah. So I will say that trailer sucked and was not. I think I was telling Jenna this today. Jenna, a friend of ours.
Friend of the show, Jenna.
Yeah, Jenna.
Shout out.
That trailer is not at all representative of the movie.
No.
Like, not tone-wise, completely different.
Okay, so the little synopsis says, a courtroom frenzy ensues and sweeps 1970s America when a young single mother reluctantly tips the attention of a widespread manhunt towards her longtime boyfriend, Ted Bundy. Mm-hmm. See, that definitely makes it sound like she, like, sets him up. When it's just like, it's about Ted Bundy, the serial killer.
Yeah.
Like, they could just say that. Be like, this is like a movie written about 1970s America in which Ted Bundy gets caught and makes a farce out of the courtroom system. Or court system. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It does make it sound like a little too fun than what it really is about.
Yeah. It's
like,
not
he's a serial killer.
It's not a fun movie. I would say that that trailer, that synopsis is accurate in the sense that, like, this entire movie, and we talked about this while we were watching the movie, is told from the naive perspective of Liz. Yes. Ted Bundy's girlfriend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going into this movie, you don't watch Zac Efron as Ted Bundy kill anybody. he doesn't abduct anybody.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't, you don't watch him grab a log and sneak into the Chi Omega sorority house.
Yeah.
You don't see any of that stuff. So it's definitely told from this like naive perspective of Liz. So everything that you know about Ted Bundy doing in terms of like what you watch him do is all stuff that Liz
reads about in the media. Yeah.
Or like sees him do.
Yeah.
So it's not like this duality where she doesn't know he's a murderer and then you have scenes of him murdering people.
Yeah, exactly.
We know he's a murderer because he's Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
So I guess
we know that as the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's like what this movie comes down to. Getting into this a little bit early, but how do you tell a story when the audience already knows the ending to the story?
Yes.
And that's like, that question sets off like a lot of problems with this movie.
Absolutely. And I think one of the main problems is, like we said before, that this is the same guy, the director who did the Ted Bundy tapes for Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that this movie is shaped and even like edited, is you almost have to have seen that Ted Bundy tapes or be very familiar with the history of Ted Bundy to understand anything about this movie.
Oh yeah.
If you don't go into this movie knowing that he killed tons of people, and tons of people,
you would
that he
be very
brutally
confused.
assaulted tons and tons of people,
and murdered, raped, dismembered,
had sex with dead bodies,
did like the most vile human things.
Yes.
I get the title now.
If you don't know that, this movie makes no sense.
Well, because even going into the first I would say like the first part of the movie,
first
with
40
that just shows
so.
like the example or shows his and Liz's relationship. Like it's literally just about a guy and a girl meeting at a bar and falling in love and
there's like a sexy montage of them.
Yeah, there's like a sexy montage, which
off.
I was like, we didn't really need that.
Definitely not.
Because
we don't even know if that happened. Like, there's no way of knowing that kind of thing happened.
Like, you assume they had a sexual relationship, but obviously, but it's not a necessary scene to have in the movie. I would say.
Was just, and it was odd. Like, the tone of it was
we kind of looked at each other, and it's like after the first. It happens after the first, court scene, basically, where he's been pulled over, and he basically gets you find out that he's been put on this suspect list for these two murders and for an abduction, I guess, or an attempted abduction, and he gets picked out of a lineup, and you find out that he's basically going to get charged. Yeah. And then he gets out on bail, and there's one courtroom scene, and then this happens the night before sentencing, where they have this crazy drunken romp.
And they're smashing glasses and stuff. And
I mean, we learned so much more about their relationship in all the scenes prior that it just felt out of place. I will say, I was going to ask this question, but I'm going to answer it and then I'm going to ask you. I don't think that this movie romanticized Ted Bundy at all, because I know that was a big question when you watch the trailer, because it's Ted Bundy's this cool 70s guy in his VW Bug,
and he's cooking
but he's
for his girlfriend,
but he's a murderer, but there's cool rock music playing, where again, that's not the tone of the movie, but also you learn so little in this movie that it definitely doesn't romanticize him. I think their choice not to include these brutal reenactments of all of these murders is obviously, probably a fairly wise decision, in the sense that these were real murders. These were real women who, with real families. And I don't really think I think it would be lacking in taste.
Yes. Okay.
To recreate those. Yeah. I
think you're right.
But I don't think it romanticized him.
And it was clearly a choice not to include all that stuff.
Yeah.
The one, sorry, go back to your, the thing you said there about the first courtroom scene.
Yeah.
And so it kind of took us both a second to realize who the woman is that's being interviewed in court.
Yeah.
And it's the only woman to
ever
like
escape
escape him. Yeah.
Ever been known to escape, because obviously like there are some people that are like, I think that I was almost abducted by Ted Bundy,
but then they never came forward or whatever. Yeah. But this is the only person that really came forward that knew it was Ted Bundy
and looked him in the eye and like saw him in broad daylight
and recognized him and picked him out of the lineup.
And that's a big, like, kind of a shocking story from the Ted Bundy tapes, actually.
Yeah. So I wanted to make that comparison because in the Ted Bundy tapes, they talk to her in real life, so as like current day.
Yeah, I think she's in her like 50s or something.
Yeah,
now.
And then they have all these interviews from the 70s when she like talked to the news and she was in court and all this, and her as like a girl and then her as sort of a like current day. She's a very strong woman. Yeah. She's very... There was like all this stuff with her being like really, really pushed on from the media. And she like held her own and she was like very confident and she knew that what she was doing.
Well, I mean, you have to be so brave.
So that's my...
As a woman to face...
Even though it was like such a small scene in this movie, it was very small. It was like maybe 5 minutes.
Maybe, not even. Gosh.
Not even.
It was like showed him sitting there.
They made her look like such a wimp.
Oh yeah,
and I didn't like that part, and I was a little thrown off by it because I was like, oh, why would they make her like this is the one person that like knew it was him, like looked him in the eye and ran away. And,
However, again, this is told. It's not told from Liz's perspective, but it's a naive perspective. So when Liz,
and so my point is that this is only reinforcing the point that we don't really get told at any point that it's from, and it doesn't make it super obvious that it's from Liz's point of view. Well, but you sort of just have to like figure that out as you're going.
Well, but it's just like eventually you realize you're not getting enough information because there are all of these key components missing. There are all of this information missing. I mean, at one point they were like, "We were just in Colorado for a ski trip," and they're like, "But you didn't show us that."
Yeah.
You know, so. There are all these missing gaps. However, I will say about that courtroom scene is it's interesting because obviously Lily Collins' character Liz is watching this family like elated that he's been found guilty.
Yeah.
And she's heartbroken because he has to go to jail. And she's looking at this woman thinking like, there's no way that he did this. You're wrong. Yeah. But then at the end of the movie, when she's finally confronted with the truth, it flashes back to that scene.
Yes.
And it shows like how her idea changes. But again,
how naive she was.
Yeah, there's so much missing information throughout this movie. I think you mentioned like if you don't know anything about Ted Bundy or about this whole case, like you'd be very in the dark, and I would completely agree. I think also like I think this movie makes a good accompaniment to the Ted Bundy tapes.
Yeah, as we were watching it, we were sort of going like, I think this is more of like a companion piece,
to
the Ted Bundy tapes. Like I think they go hand in hand pretty well. But...
Yeah, and I think you also made the comment that like, this movie is almost like all of the dramatic reenactments from the Ted Bundy tapes.
Yeah.
Without any of like the dark and scary stuff. Like it's almost like a documentary without any narration.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
And I don't think as a movie it works very well, but I do think as a what did you call it? God, I keep wanting to call it companion piece to the documentary. It works okay.
And I think like even though we have all these issues with like the way the movie was made, or I guess that's not to say it was like a bad movie because I actually felt like maybe 45 minutes in or an hour. I mean, it's not very long either. No, it's like an hour and a half or so. I got like really into it in like the second half.
Yeah.
I was kind of having issues like I think you were too. It just like focusing or like getting into the story in the first half because it just felt so disjointed and it just felt like it wasn't really telling a story as much as it was like showing you things that were happening.
And I think it didn't tell us a story because we already know the ending.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when the entire first half of the movie is about, the basis of their relationship, finding out that he's going to prison, her not wanting to or them kind of like trying to keep the hope alive and trying to believe that he's going to get out of prison. And, you know, you kind of see her like grappling to deal with this, you know, that isn't very intriguing for someone who's already watched a documentary about it and learned that, you know, their relationship eventually ended. He went on to, you know, go to get sentenced again and then flees and then gets locked up, then flees again, then goes to Florida.
Yeah.
Like that, as much as I think it's interesting that they focused on their relationship, like there are so many other parts of this case that I think are more interesting. So yeah, until you get to kind of close towards the end of the movie, I guess, when you find out that he's going to get sentenced is when it kind of gets more interesting for me, at least anyways. I
mean, that whole, like, pretty much when they get into court, when, like, John Malkovich and Jim Parsons, they're all sort of in the mix.
Yeah.
That's when it gets, like, oh, this is, like, really great. Like, I mean, and that's the thing, too, is, like, the acting through this entire movie was awesome. Yeah. It was really good. Yeah. It was Zac Efron, like, if you had any questions about his acting ability, it was definitely answered in this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And they made him look so much like Ted Bundy. I was eerie. Turning to Pat, like, throughout the movie to being like, this is creepy. Like, they did his teeth.
Oh, and there's, like, one of the first scenes they show his teeth.
Yeah.
And he kind of, like, smiles.
He smiles, and you're like, ooh.
Damn.
Yeah. Because it's like, they give him, like, that subtle 70s unibrow.
Yep.
Not so subtle. And they do his teeth, and then they give him, like, you know, he grows his scruff out, and he's got this, like, kind of dark curly hair, and I mean, they, like, redid a bunch of the pictures that he did. Like, because, like, in the doco, you see, like, he's got, like, all these pictures with Liz and whatever. And he's got, like, scruff in some of them. He's, like, holding a kid or whatever. He has suspenders on in one, They
remade all those pictures as Zac Efron, and it was amazing. It's so well done. Like, he looks exactly like him. It's crazy. They did
a really good job. I think, I will say, and I kind of mentioned this to Pat while we were watching the movie, because at one point he does an interview, I think, when he's extradited. Yeah, extradited. The way you ship things. Extradited to Colorado. And he does an interview, and someone's talking about how he maintains his innocence, and they show the exact same interview, real interview in the Ted Bundy tapes. Yeah, and
I think they do this like 3 times throughout the movie too.
It was the first time throughout, and I think this must be like maybe half hour into the movie.
Yeah,
roughly
25 minutes or so.
It was the first time that I actually saw Zac Efron kind of like imitate Ted Bundy's mannerisms and his manner of speaking. And up until that point, like, he looked a lot like him. But because we obviously, in the Ted Bundy tapes, I mean, we don't just see Ted Bundy like walking around having a casual conversation with his girlfriend of all people. So, you know, it's kind of hard to imagine it as him, even though he looks a lot like him.
But then you see
this interview, and it's just like, he did such a good job at like imitating the mannerisms, and obviously he has like material to work off of. So
totally,
I worked, but I think he did a great job. He did a good job of being both likable, but at the same time very unlikable, because obviously you know he's a murderer. Like there's like bits where they, like, to your point there, they have him do like the one where the sheriff, I think it is like reading off his like whatever indictment,
thing, and indictment, and that one's like right from the documentary. It's like whatever newscast that they had, and just like his mannerisms and like his restlessness, like that he's kind of like pacing around the room and he's like cutting off the sheriff and stuff. It was done so well, and like you said, like there's about 3 different things that they do, and it's like carbon copies. Like they do an amazing job.
But it wasn't like for me enough to make this movie interesting. Like I will say I was much, much, much more entertained by the Ted Bundy tapes. Like I thought those were interesting. Yeah, obviously not perfect by any means, but I don't know. I was just more like grappled by it. And I'm one of those people, I can watch a documentary and a movie many, many, many times. I'm not one of those people that can only watch it once and then I'm bored of the story. Like I think all of that stuff is so interesting. So it's not that I was bored or I wasn't entertained because I'd already learned all the information. It was just like kind of touch and go at some points. Like it kind of felt like we were getting half of the story.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say so.
And, yeah.
Yeah, definitely from sort of Liz's point of view.
Yeah,
Like
which I think is an interesting perspective.
Yeah, because I think some of it was interesting, too, because Haley Joel Osment plays Liz's, like, new boyfriend.
Yeah,
they, like, meet at her work or whatever, and they become friendly. But I thought that was really interesting because then he's almost used as a tool for her not getting information. You know, like, there's bits where he sees what it's doing to her, seeing, like, Ted Bundy on the news and stuff and stressing out. And so they're watching the news all the time together. And then when they go to bed, he unplugs the phones because he knows that it's stressing her out. So he wants to alleviate that. So he just, like, takes it into his own hands. Mm-hmm. And then it acts as, like, oh, now she doesn't know what's going on because she's not getting those phone calls from him.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that was kind of interesting. There is, like, retrospectively, kind of a lot of interesting things that this movie does. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, like you said, like, she gets fed all of her information from either reading it on in the newspaper, I almost said online, in the newspaper, or seeing it on TV.
Yeah.
But I just think that, like, the first half of that movie, where it is just sort of the two of them, and she's only getting information sort of whatever he tells her, or, like, from the first, like, the media or whatever, wasn't quite as interesting as the second half.
Well, and I guess because, like, that dynamic, a relationship in which one person has been, like, convicted and sent to jail, that dynamic would be much more interesting if we didn't know the answer to her question already.
Yeah, and you had brought this up when we were sort of prepping and getting ready for this. How do you tell a story where you already know the answer or the outcome of it?
So it's not interesting for us because, I'm not going to say, there was some parts of it that I think were, like, quite captivating, but you can't really expect someone to be, like, grappled by this tension, grappled by, like, Liz's struggle in that sense, because obviously we already know the answer. Yeah. We know the truth. Yeah. You know, so you're not sitting there wondering, oh gosh, well, did he do it? Like, what's the evidence? How can we, you know, understand? Like, I want to know what happened, because you already know what happened.
Yeah.
So,
because this is an internationally known story. It's an internationally known person. Like,
you know,
like when people were celebrating when he got electrocuted, you know, like.
Yeah. What do you think about the ending? I wonder if that actually, I don't think it actually happened.
What?
That Liz, like, went to visit him on, like, his last day or whatever, before he died.
And she, like, asked for him to, like,
release
tell her.
Yeah.
Because, like, I guess there's a bit where she just feels bad about, like, how she was clueless, or she didn't want to believe it, or she was giving him the benefit of the doubt, or she was naive.
Well, she feels bad because...
And then she feels bad for giving his name up.
Yeah.
And then thinking that she was the reason that all this was happening or whatever.
Yeah.
So then she gets, like, a picture, and it's of one of the bodies that he's killed, and the head's gone.
Yeah.
And so he, like, asks him, like, how did you do it? And he, like, won't say, and then finally, like, puts down the phone, and he writes... Hacksaw. Yeah, which is so disgusting.
It's such a dark moment, too, because,
and
like...
I honestly don't think that happened.
No,
That seems like a very, very, like...
dramatic
movie the director
ending.
Took creative liberties here and tried to make it a little bit more than
cinematic,
it was.
Yeah.
But I don't think that happened. And that kind of took me out of it a little bit, to be honest. Like, I was a little disappointed that was how it ended. But, I mean, I did like that whole dialogue. I thought that them talking to each other and her actually, like, standing up for herself.
Yeah.
Added a lot of, like, weight to her character, to her being like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Because not only are you
10
dying,
years later.
I'm physically, like, we won't be able to see each other anymore, but, like, emotionally, I'm disconnecting.
Yeah.
But then they, like, add that bit, and I was like, oh, okay.
I thought it was interesting, like, how his character progresses through the movie and becomes, like, more unhinged as time goes on. Like, I think you especially start to see that when he, like, escapes prison twice, and you know, that scene where he's, like having sex with, I think her name's Carol.
Oh, I wrote it down. Crap. What is her name? Kaya. I think
Pardon?
that's her name.
Carol Ann.
Carolyn? I think it said Kaya on Wikipedia.
No, it's definitely Carol Ann.
Okay, wait, let's look. We should get this right.
Carol Ann
Are you looking it up?
Boone. Yeah, it's Carol Ann Boone.
Oh, okay, nice.
When they're having sex in the
They made her
visitors room.
remarkably like.
Yeah, that was very scary.
Sorry, go on.
But also like they talk a lot in the Ted Bundy tapes about how they had these like kind of like sex craved like visiting hours and how they used to do drugs together at the prison and all of that stuff. So
it is interesting that they showed only that bit.
Yeah.
Because really, like, she wouldn't have known about that too. You know, if it's all from Liz's point of view.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, this movie's not bad. Definitely not. But I would say if you're going to watch it, definitely watch the Ted Bundy tapes first.
Yeah.
It just fills in a lot of the blanks. Like,
or watch another Ted Bundy documentary. Like, if you're really interested, I mean, we're just referencing the tapes because it's made by the same person. But
yeah. And I almost prefer that. Oh, I actually do prefer that
over this. Yeah. I think that Zac Efron did a great job.
Yep. I thought John
Lily
Malkovich
Collins was great.
Jim Parsons.
Yeah.
Lily Collins was amazing.
I will say though there was
she was honestly, it's like any scene she was in was that she stole it.
I kind of had a bit of a chuckle though, the scene where they're interviewing teenage girls. So they have like real footage of, you know, these camera and TV crews interviewing teenage girls who were coming to not just teenage, like young women coming to the trial.
Young women.
Because they were attracted to Ted Bundy. And then they have like obviously actors trying to like not imitate it, but kind of trying to do it. And oh my God, bless their sweethearts, because it was some bad acting. Like,
honest to God, like straight up, just bad acting. It was really bad. It was like so enough for it to be like a fairly serious moment in the movie, and then they show these like these like interviews, and it's like. And we just started laughing. Like, it was so bad. It was awful.
It was the one moment they touched on, like, how women were attracted to Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Which I will say, one credit to this movie is they did not mention it as much as the Ted Bundy tapes. Like, Zac Efron, I think, is a charismatic person regardless, and he played kind of a charismatic Ted Bundy. But
and they definitely focused more on his charisma than sort of his physical attractiveness,
his physical appearance,
I think. Yeah.
So I will say that was like the one time they did touch on it. And
yep.
Thank God, because watching the Ted Bundy tapes, I was just like, we do not need to hear about how hot Ted Bundy is.
Again,
I understand like it's an interesting like intersection of like this physically attractive guy that is a monster and somehow
who's psychotic.
Yeah, can bring himself to do this, or has. Clearly some to say the word issues is a massive understatement. But
acting was really, really great. I actually quite enjoyed all the scenes Jim Parsons was in. And then
all of a sudden you were like, it's Jim Parsons.
I was like, Big Bang Theory guy.
And then you just went, how old is Jim Parsons?
Oh, and then
Dad did his thing where he starts Googling every actor in the movie while we're watching the movie. Yeah.
That's
telling me
Netflix,
facts about everyone.
Yeah. Jim Parsons like 56. Is that what we found out? No, 46.
No, he's 46.
46, yeah. He's almost 50.
Yeah.
He looks great.
He does look great.
John Malkovich was great. I actually liked him better than I liked the judge that he played.
I don't think that's an opinion you can have.
No, I know, but the judge that he played, like, I kind of hated him in the doc because I felt like he was a little too
He's
nice.
a real man.
He was a real man, but I just felt like he was too nice to Ted Bundy.
Well, I know. That's the creepy thing about it, though.
Yeah, and he was like, no hard feelings.
Yeah, I have no ill will towards you, man.
And it's like, dude, you killed like 30 people that we know of. How can you say that?
Yeah.
But then John Malkovich was like kind of an ass to him in the movie, which I kind of liked a little bit more. Anyway, I can see you're like, what does that mean?
No. I'm just thinking about like the judge and... Yeah, anyway. What would you give it?
I guess we should rate it. I don't know. 4 out of 7.
Yeah, I'm going to say 4 out of 7.
It's not bad, and I did enjoy, like, the last half. But
I'm going to say 3.5 out of 7.
Yeah, okay. But I'd say
halfway there.
if I didn't watch Ted Bundy tapes, And if I wasn't doing this show, I probably would have checked out.
Yeah,
I probably would have just turned it off.
I don't think we would have kept watching it.
Yeah, but we specifically watched it.
Not only because I wanted to watch the OA afterwards.
Yes, exactly.
Although that was a huge motivator for me to get through that movie.
Yes, exactly. So we could finish it and watch the OA.
Yeah, I have a newfound appreciation for Zac Efron.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely opened my eyes.
He, I think he really did. I don't want to say the character justice. It's a real person, and Ted Bundy sucks.
Yeah.
But he did a good job at portraying him.
He did a really good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Cool.
You can catch us on Twid Speaks Pod on Instagram.
Which I mostly upload photos.
Yeah, Georgia's on there too. You can catch Georgia at Grudeloff on Twitter.
Good luck spelling that, punks.
I'm at KidCombo _ on Twitter. Thanks for listening. This has been Twin Speaks, first watch, first listen of, do I want to look it up? Extremely
wicked, vile.
Something evil and vile.
Shockingly?
Yes. Extremely wicked and
shockingly evil and vile.
Yeah.
Ah.
Nice.
Also, massive criticism for this movie. Pick a different title.
That title sucks.
I'm sorry, I know it's a direct quote, but...
Come on.
It's not justified.
Yeah.
I can't even remember it.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.